Welcome to another edition of The Collective, right here on WSME Enlightenment Radio. My name is Michelle Turner, and I have the good fortune of hosting this show, which brings in all types of people: business people, artists, producers, writers, politicians, and we talk about issues as well, and the arts, dancers, musicians. We do all of that, and that's why it's called The Collective. And we're just about in our 10th month. So thank you for watching and supporting us, especially listening on Sundays at 6 p.m. on WSME. Today's guest is someone who has been doing her thing in New York City for quite some time and is a native of New York. And she runs a very interesting business. So we're going to talk about that today, how she ended up in this business. You know, she started out doing the family piece, and now she's probably about 13 years in. So let me introduce you to Valerie Samuel. Valerie, hi. Thank you
Hello.
so
Thank you,
much.
Michelle. Thank you.
Appreciate you
Thank
being
you.
here.
It's a
So,
pleasure.
native New Yorker, correct?
That's correct.
And did you ever think that this is what you'd be doing? Running this kind of business? And we'll get
No,
into what it is.
I never thought about it at all. It just like, wow. I knew I would be running a business. I just didn't know it would be this type of business. So, I mean, I would have never thought about it. And it's like so interesting that like it's not even a lot of people doing it, but
Right.
I got lucky. So,
So you started out with your uncle.
yes.
And so what propelled you to stay? And
Well,
talk a little bit about what he does, and then we'll talk about your business.
Well, my uncles are one is a retired firefighter and
Uh-huh.
the other is a retired carpet guy, and they decided to come together in retirement and form I guess you can say a collaborative, right? And that collaborative is in Queens, across the street from one of the historical churches, Allen AME. And what they
Yes.
decided to do
Yes.
was to, take the firefighting skills and the carpet skills and merge and decide we put together a store called Lock and Roll, and that store consists of a locksmith, consists of carpet, flooring. We just put together a collective, if you will, of different things that they were specializing in as they were going
Mhm.
through their full-time jobs. They were doing things on the side, and so that store has been standing now for about 10 years. And pretty
Wow.
much they just started doing little things and they started realizing that they needed to expand and other things in terms of code and compliance came into being. And that's when I got brought in.
Now, did they say to you, come in for a couple of times a week? Or was it like, hey, we're doing this business, you need to be in with both feet?
Well, they started expanding beyond doing locksmith, beyond doing flooring. They started getting more into like the handyman and little contracting work, and
Okay.
that work requires licenses and permits, codes, and compliance. And they knew that I was into business and I was into real estate. I was a business advisor, for many years.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
decided, I know you really understand this concept and you understand research, and we really need somebody that can, really sort of like manage these projects for us. And they brought me in to do little things here and there. And then finally it got to
Hmm.
the point they started expanding and they needed me to go ahead and get licensed. And so I became licensed, and that's how it started back in 2011.
Wow. And you never look back.
No, I never looked back. Actually, I was working part time when that's why I had the free time to help them at that
Okay.
time because I had started a family. But nope, never looked back. And since 2017, I've been fully committed, full time in the business.
Okay, so explain what you do because I think this is fascinating. In reading about the business, somebody comes to you
Hmm.
and they say, I want to build over here. So
Right.
you do the research, you pull the permits, you
Hmm.
find out about the taxes. That just blew
Everything.
my mind because it's like, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
somebody's got to do that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and
So,
it's real. It's serious.
yeah. And
uh,
so, walk me through that process.
well,
I
that
come to
process.
you,
Uh-huh.
I come to you and I say, okay, I want to build a 5-story apartment complex over here
Mhm.
on this corner. What are your next steps?
Well, I take the whole thing from soups to nuts, but from a code and compliant perspective, I'm going to manage that entire process. So I'm like the project manager, although they call us expediters. So I'm going to
Okay.
look at the architect, I'm going to look at the zoning, I'm going to look at any type of due diligence that's required. I'm going to definitely look at your budget. I'm going to, look at everything that you would need to do in terms of building that property on that site, even from an asbestos report. I'm going to coordinate all of those components. So they look at it from the pre-construction stage to the construction stage to the post-construction stage. And all of those stages is a lot of paper. It's a
Yeah,
lot of
I was going to
municipal
say,
complexities. And all of those complexities and all of those documents and all of those forms and all of those papers, I'm the one that's coordinating and moving those parts. But more importantly, they like expediters or people like me that are project managers as well, because we're going to make sure that the people that are doing those projects are licensed, or we call it vetted. That because
yes.
some people are out there and they're handymen and they can't pull a permit from these different municipalities, and you can't do that. You have to be licensed and insured to pull permits, and so we make sure those things are in place so that the other side of what I do, which is the removal of the violations, you don't get too many of those because they can be costly.
Now, when you say pull a permit, exactly what is that?
Well, you can't build a family house in your example without having a work permit from the city. You
Okay.
can't you can't build that house without having a construction permit. You can't build that house without having a plumbing permit because it needs all of these things. A house
Right.
has many floors and it has these things that makes the house function, right? The water, the toilet, and everything else that goes in it, the electric, all of
Right.
these things. You have to do those things or have to build, if you will, according to code, and those codes have to be in compliant with the municipality. So things in New York City are different from things in Nassau County, and
Correct.
they're different for the ones in Westchester or New Jersey or Connecticut. So we manage all of those municipalities, but in your case, you're talking New York. So we would make sure that all of those things are code compliant, if you will.
Okay. And how long does that take you on average? Is it a
Uh,
little, and let me just ask too,
mhm.
is it a little faster because now, we're in a virtual world? Is it a little bit faster? You don't necessarily have to go, excuse me, you don't have to go downtown or to, city planning or whatever it is.
Not really, no. Because of COVID, that year we just lost, the municipalities, particularly in New York City, they became more digital. So now everybody is trying to on board and get used to these new technologies and new
Yeah,
systems.
yeah.
In fact, we're on calls like on a regular basis with the city of New York because there are a lot of kinks in this new system that they've had to adopt because of COVID. So things are going a lot slower. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
things are moving. It just everybody's still working from home, even with the city. I'm understanding that soon, like they will be coming back on full, but not yet.
Okay. So when you think in terms of the next steps and what that takes, um, are you project managing at that point? Are you saying, okay, we need to do A, B, and C, but it's going to take you X amount of weeks or X amount of months?
I can only give ranges at this particular point because there may be some objections. So let's say if we're doing a certificate of occupancy for that 8 family, right? If we're
Yep.
going to build it, the ultimate goal, the end in mind is they want to get a certificate of occupancy that says that it's safe, so that should they decide to refinance or sell or whatever they're going to do, they have a building that has a C of O. Everybody needs a C of O. Can't have a building unless it's built before 1938. Then you may not have C of O because the codes and the compliance
Right.
issues weren't really in place. So if you have a situation where they need a C of O, then yeah, we're managing that process for them from the beginning to the end. It's a lot of pieces in there. Imagine when you go down the
Yeah.
street, you see buildings being built really fast,
Yeah.
right? So that means that somebody's moving the paper along like really fast, or something's going wrong with that project and it's not really in compliant. They may not have, there may be union workers, or they may not be union
Uh,
workers, or there may be workers that are not union that are working. So, a lot of things can stop a project and cause objections or just delays. So every
yeah.
project is different.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you project manage, are you also dealing with budgets, or are you just basically pulling permits?
Well, I always start, and I don't really have to work with their budgets because I'm more like the expediter. But I do have to find out, do they have a budget? Because you can't, there are fees involved, because
Right.
you can't pull a permit without a budget. You can't put an extension onto an existing house without paying, a fee to the city. And that fee is
Right.
based on the overall cost of, let's say, for your example, that 8-family house. So it's very important to have a budget. There's no way you can. It's no way. It's no way you can do work with the city without having some kind of a budget. In most cases, you should have a big one. So,
Hmm.
yeah, because it's expensive. It's quite, it's expensive.
Yeah. So how long were you in real estate?
Well, I was a business advisor. I was helping other companies to set up. I worked for the, I guess you can say, quasi governmental agency, the small business
Hmm.
development centers. And I worked for those for many years. And all I did was help companies to finance, help them to launch their businesses, launch them to help them to expand their businesses. That kind of work, help them to get certified with the state, the city, help them to find contracts. So I did a lot of that for many years until I decided, to start just solely doing it for myself.
Now, you say many years. What
Hmm.
drew you to that kind of work in the first place?
Well, that's really
You know,
exciting because my father drew me to that work. My father was an executive at Ford Motor Company, and
hmm
he decided to launch for a minute and go and buy a franchise paint store. The store was called Benjamin Moore. So that was exciting. And I
yes.
went to work for him. I went to work for
Ah,
him, and that was exciting. He had a lot of contracts with a lot of schools, and that was going really well. He became Small Business Administration Man of the Year, SBA Man of the
yes.
Year. But
Yes.
then there were some kinks that came along because the area that our store was in, and we had the truck, the beautiful store, all of that. It was
hmm
red line. You know what red lines means, right?
Uh,
It
yes,
was
but
red line.
explain for the audience.
Yeah, they stopped loaning, giving money and bank financing for that particular area. So that was a problem.
Mm,
So if you
yeah.
can't get money, you need money. With a business that he was doing, he needed money. He was selling volumes of paint. He wasn't selling, a gallon. I mean, he was
Right.
selling, exactly. So he needed, financing to keep his lines going, but they dried the area up. So as a result of
Mm,
that, we had to, dissolve that corporation. He went back to Ford. He's now retired. And I went to work for the group that set him up in business. That's how
okay.
I got into the industry of economic and business development.
Now, do you need a degree for that? Or is it more experience or both?
I don't know what different people's avenues were, but everybody I worked with had a master's.
Okay.
I don't
Okay.
know what other people. I don't know, because you can get into careers a lot of different ways.
Right. Right.
So I
Right.
don't really know, but I came up through the hard way. I had to earn it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had to earn it.
So so now that you're in it with both feet,
Hmm.
what's it feel like?
Fast. It's very fast. It's very fast. It's a lot to do. It's a lot to manage. But you have to balance it. It's that whole work life kind of thing. Because I'm
Yeah.
married. I
Yeah.
have a son. I have a family. So I have to manage all of these different avenues. But every moment counts. So I try to do as
hmm
much as I can. To do as much as I can. But I'm also a career girl and I'm a workaholic. So, I can keep going. But I do know when to fall asleep. So get some rest.
Well, don't worry. I'm not going to keep you up past your bedtime. Okay. I'm
You
gonna
know
let
my
you know that
story.
straight up.
Yeah.
I read in between there.
No, no, no. I'm good with this. I'm good. I prepared. So I'm good with this. You know what I'm saying though.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
I really enjoy what I'm doing because I really help a lot of people. Like right now, I'm working with. I got a call a couple of days ago. I think Friday of last week, from an
Uh,
electrician. The electrician told me that one of his clients has a pool that's 400 square feet. That means something in what we're doing. That means that she doesn't need a permit for the pool in the
okay,
city. However,
okay.
the problem is she had somebody come in there that wasn't licensed to pull permits,
Oh,
and he didn't
wow.
do it correctly, right? There's some good stuff he did, but there's a lot of bad stuff he did. He didn't bring in National Grid. The BTUs are all mixed up. And so I had to try to find a new licensed plumber, master plumber, to go and supersede that project. And quite frankly, I'm still in that puzzle
Yeah,
because nobody wants to go after somebody else's work that messed up that didn't have a permit and that hasn't wasn't licensed with the city. So I'm in that situation right now, and it's a wait thing because until we can get all these pieces together, she's in a situation that is unsafe. And the only reason she knew about that is a neighbor called and told
hmm.
that she had a pool. So she picked up a
Wow.
complaint. And as a complaint, that means that the city or the inspectors are going to be looking at you to see what's going
Right.
on. And when they come out, they usually find something.
So there's also something that you say in the business description about you try to save people from having to pay extra, or there's something about, oh, what is it? Something about where you pull it and you want to save the customer money
Mhm.
as opposed to having to pay on the back end for whatever. So is that this kind of situation?
Yeah, if she had got to us before she did this, she would have, she would have known that
Hmm.
she would have spent the money up front to do it right, as opposed to not doing it right. So now it's almost double. You have fines involved, and you also have the fines, the fees, the penalties, and you have to
Right.
redo work.
Yeah.
So the work has to be done correct. That means if you spent whatever amount of dollars, you've got to go and spend those dollars plus more, because nobody wants to go and do work, go behind somebody that did the work wrong
Yeah. Yeah. You're
without taking
almost
all the.
tripling what you're spending.
It's a
Uh,
mess. It's a mess.
Getting violations dismissed. That's what it was. I just
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
how does that work, Valerie?
Well, I'll give you an example. So I'm working with a church, and they have about 5 different violations. Get this, I just got this referral like 2 weeks ago.
Uh-huh.
On January 1 of this year, the building inspectors went to this church and cited them with 5 different violations. And one of the violations was for electrical. They had wires
Mm.
hanging,
Wow.
all kinds of wires hanging. So they got that.
Mm-hmm.
They got some stuff for general maintenance. They got some things for their boiler room, and they missed the hearing. Anytime you get a violation, there's a hearing that you have to attend. If you don't, you default. So they missed that. Nonetheless, they owe about $3,600 right now. Plus, they have to get
Mm-hmm.
again the permits because they were doing
Right.
work that they shouldn't have been doing without a permit. So my goal
Wow.
is to try to represent them at what we call the oath hearing and
Mm-hmm.
see if, in fact, the judge will knock something off. Now, prior to COVID, they would give what we call amnesty, or they would be more open to working with you. Now it's like everything is on the computer. It's like you got to pay. That's what you pay.
Mm.
So unless there's some real extenuating circumstances, it might be hard to knock off those prices or those fees or those penalties. But there's always an opportunity if you were not in the wrong and they thought you were. But most of the time, if they see something, you're in the wrong.
You're in the wrong. And you're gonna have to pay for it.
It's the inspector. They're like police. They're buildings police. So when they knock,
Mm-hmm.
most people don't want to let them in, but they keep knocking. At some point, they're gonna get in.
Yeah, and they're gonna see, and you're gonna have to pay.
That's why you have to go to court.
Yeah.
It's serious,
So now, yeah. So now, when that process happens, there's an attorney in place. Do you go to court as well with them, or you're just helping them find the paperwork to sort of
Yeah.
get them out of trouble, if you will?
This they can go. I can go, or the attorney can go. It depends on how they want to do that. Again, what their budget is. Maybe they
Yeah.
don't want to go because they're not comfortable, but they can afford an expediting firm like Allborough Expediter, or maybe they say let me just send an attorney because they figure well the attorney's going to do a little bit more, but so it's really about the budget or their comfort level because some people
Mm-hmm.
go but it's before COVID, it was a lot of sitting. That's why they would also hire an expediter because you could sit 5 hours.
Yeah.
And a lot of folks work, so do they have 5 hours to take off, or they just rather pay the fees for the expediter to go and handle that for them, or an attorney to handle that for
Yeah.
them?
So you do all 5 boroughs.
Yes, plus New Jersey, yes, and also Westchester.
All right. So you haven't gotten up this way yet.
No, where are you?
In New Haven, Connecticut.
Oh no, I haven't gotten to Connecticut. Not yet. Not yet.
You probably would be more closer to Fairfield County anyway, because
Yeah.
that's closer to the city. We are about an hour and a half from the Bronx.
Oh,
So,
okay. Yeah, sure.
and we're the last stop from Metro North coming out of Grand Central.
Oh, wow.
So,
Okay.
yeah, we're a straight shot either way. So, sooner or later, you'll make
Oh,
your way at least
absolutely.
to Fairfield County.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And with everything being digital now, I can almost do any borough.
Yeah, you can do
I can do
anywhere,
anywhere.
right? Yeah.
Which is a great thing.
And
It's
how
just a
long?
little paper.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how long does it take you to become certified in each borough, or is it, you put in paperwork and it allows you to serve the 5 boroughs, period?
Yeah, as a licensed expediter, I'm allowed to serve the 5 boroughs. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to be certified in every like New Jersey. You don't have to be certified. Um, let's see, Long Island. You don't have to be certified, but in the 5 boroughs, you have to be certified to do this work. Uh, you have to be. That's just their policy. You go to Atlanta, you don't have to be certified. Every municipality, every
Yeah, it's
state
different.
is different.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
again, they would bring in the expediter when they just don't know, because a lot of folks are out there and they just don't know. And like a
yeah,
violation in the city is called a violation, but let's say in Long Island it's called a variance. So
yeah,
you have to be on top of what the municipalities are calling things, and you have to
yeah,
know that people are vetted that are working on your property. You know, I mean, you can't even have a dumpster, let's say in Westchester, in your yard without having a permit. People don't know that. The
yeah,
iPods, the pods, you need a
yeah.
permit for that. And you can get fined $3,000, but you didn't know.
Wow, wow.
You
So, all
know, so
right,
it's paid to pay the expediter.
hold that thought. We're gonna come back. You're gonna talk a little bit more about what you do, and then we're gonna talk about boom.
Yeah, I love that. Okay.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right. Valerie Samuel is the CEO of All Borough Expediters. She's located in Queens, New York, and she's on the Collective. Another superwoman talking about what she does every day, all day. And we'll be back. We got to take a break after this. We're back on the Collective here on WSME Enlightenment Radio, where positivity is everything, baby. I can't say it like Doc. Doc really has all the energy for it. I'm just, kind of like laid back a little bit. But Thank you for joining us on The Collective. My guest today is Valerie Samuel, and she is the CEO of All Borough Expediters, located in Queens, New York. And Valerie, once again, thank you so much for coming on and telling us about your business and how it works. So, we were talking about permits before the break. So, we
Yes.
know that in every place, there's always something different,
Yes.
right? Because what works in Westchester doesn't necessarily work in Queens, and
That's
what
right.
works in Queens doesn't work in Jersey.
That's right.
So, how long does it take you to learn all of that?
It's on the job training, for real. A lot of
Okay.
times it's on the
Okay.
job training. I've learned, as I grew into it, and things change, which is what I love about it, because I'm like one of those personalities that I like change. I
Yeah.
embrace change, it's inevitable. so,
Yeah,
um,
it is.
so
It
things
is.
change all the time, and my mother trained me that way. Things change, So I like when things change because it keeps me innovative and interested and motivated. When it's stagnant, I'm bored.
Mm,
So
mm.
you have to just stay on top of it. I love this. I love the hunt for it. I love the search for it. So that really excites me. So anybody that always asks me, well, how do I become one? I'm like, do you love research? Because if you
Ah,
love research, then you would love being an expediter. But then you have to have the skill of being a project manager. So I'm like a little hound. So people are like, oh, I need that. Because, again, when you put on the project management hat of it, you
yeah.
basically are constantly calling people, reminding people, and staying on top of people. And some
Mm,
people may not like that, but that's what we do because we have to move it from A to Z. That's just
right.
how it works,
Right.
right? So I do it in a nice way. I do it in a nice way. They always say, like the architects, like, no, no, I don't mind. I need that because they take their time,
Yeah.
and that type of stuff
And
can make it take a long time.
right. And I think when you have someone like you, as you're being kept on your toes by
Right,
learning, you're keeping
right.
them on their toes and on time with their
Exactly,
project.
exactly. Because remember that budget is in there, and the client
Right.
may say, the longer you take this out, how long? Like, here's another instant, real quick. So I had a project in Westchester last Friday. We tried to get the architect together with my client because they picked up a violation for the kitchen. The inspector came out up there in New Rochelle, actually. And
Hmm.
my architect said he could do it. He wanted to get there Monday. They couldn't get Monday because one of the partners was in Dominican Republic, and he wanted to be there to also meet with the homeowner and us. So we came on Friday. Well, Friday, my
Mm,
architect told him told the clients that he was on his way to Dominican Republic with his wife. Okay, so then by this week, the man's got a violation. It's adding up. He's got a house that needs to be
yeah.
fixed that he bought. He wants to move. All of these issues, and so so they had to end up going with someone else on in terms of the architect, not with me. I'm still the expediter, but he's like he couldn't. What could he do? It's like he
Right.
needs to get stuff moving. He's got issues. You know what I mean? He's got violation. He's got fines. He's got a house that's
Yeah.
got the roof is
Yeah.
coming in, and the architect is telling. But
Ooh.
it wasn't the architect's fault because he told him I wanted to get there on Monday, but they couldn't get there
Right.
because they was on vacation until Friday. So you see what happens? So it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
all I
Yeah.
can do is
And
just
they,
do.
they
That's
need
it.
a so-called middle person.
Exactly.
They need that.
So he
Yeah.
found someone else, and what can you do?
So we're going to turn now.
Okay.
We're going to talk about how you got into podcasting.
Hmm.
So you always like a challenge, you always like something different. So now here's the opportunity to do something different.
Right.
So, how did this come about?
Well, this is more on that business advisory side. My undergrad major was broadcast communications, so I've always been a writer, and
Hmm.
my career has been in business, development. So I took that coupled with the Borough and I got certified. And then I started saying, how can I help other people get certified? And it's complicated. Doing business with the government is complicated. And I
Yeah.
wanted to share how that process works. And although it's on my website, I also said maybe some folks hear better, by hearing. So I said, well, I'll put the
Hmm.
podcast together to just talk to them more about like how this process works. Because right now, some of the buzzwords are minority business, enterprise,
Right.
minority and women business enterprise, disadvantaged business enterprise. A lot of these local based enterprise, a lot of things going on right now for people that are minority or veterans or
Yeah.
whatever, and trying to do business with the government. And I am certified. So as a business, and I wanted to make sure that other folks understood like this is where it's going right now, and that I want to help you to get into that arena if that is what you think you want to
Hmm.
do.
If
So
that's
I
what you
thought
want to
that the
do. Yeah.
podcast, yeah, I thought that the podcast would be a good way for those people who don't want to read about it, they can hear about it.
Hmm. Hmm.
So we talk about that a little bit in the podcast. That's really the focus of the podcast. But as you know, I also highlight other successful businesses or just people doing something good in the podcast in my new member segment. And I always like to just share it. Teamwork makes a
Makes the dream work.
exactly. So I try to highlight other people that are doing good things, and they don't have to be a business owner. They could just be someone out there that's just doing something. And it's not a long segment. It's just like I just want to congratulate them on that work.
Yeah.
So we do
Yeah.
that there too. Hmm.
So the name, boom.
Hmm.
It's an acronym for what?
Business ownership, operations, and management. All the stuff I do. Yes, I've had that in me for a minute, and that sums up me as a professional over the last 25 years. I've That's what I've done. I've helped people start, expand, manage, and finance their businesses. And so when I thought about that, I said, okay, well, I'm helping people to boom,
Mm.
and that's what I decided to name the show. For short. So it's called Boom. So what do you think of it? Did you hear it?
I've heard it. I like it.
Yeah.
I think it's a different concept because, like you said, so many people may want to do this type of work,
Right.
but they have no idea where to turn.
Right.
You know, they have
Hmm.
no idea where to turn. They're not sure
Hmm.
about what their next steps are.
Right.
And like you said, sometimes people are more audio
You're right.
than they are video, you
Right.
know? And
Right.
so they like to listen because it gives them, it connects with them automatically. It
Sure.
gives them, that vision that they may need. They can see it better.
Right.
Some people are visual learners. Some people are hands-on learners. Some people are, audio. And
That's right.
so I think that it's a good choice. And I think that people definitely will want to keep listening
Hmm.
because not only do you give great information, but they learn something,
Yeah. Hmm.
and that's important. If you can get something without having to spend a whole lot of money or
Exactly. It's
free,
free. Exactly. That's
and you're
right.
just starting out in business, right? I mean,
Right.
if I'm somebody who's just starting out in business and I'm trying to locate resources,
Right.
I definitely want free.
Yeah. Exactly.
I
And this is
definitely
real
want free.
information. It's real information.
Yeah,
It's like, I try to blog about it and write about it, but definitely when I blog it, I just record it
yeah,
because I know that people they don't have the time or they just prefer, like I said, they prefer different ways. So.
yeah. So give an example of like the information that you may give.
Hmm. Well, when I first started it, I only talked about because it was during the pandemic. I had plenty of time to do some other things, right? So when I first started, I talked about different ways to navigate your business through the pandemic, and some of the things how the pandemic is impacting us, what we could do, some of the strategies. So I have like 7 segments
Mm-hmm.
on that, and then I started moving into the whole idea of hey, because of the pandemic and because a lot of people may not have monies, or their budgets are changing, you might want to look at the government, as one of the largest employers out here, and
Right.
largest got to have the largest budget, that's for sure.
Right.
So I started looking at, well, maybe there's some opportunities for you to do business with the federal, state, local governments, and if you think that's an opportunity for you, because you don't want to go out of business, or you need to find some new business, then this podcast is probably for you. So I started talking about topics, everything from like the different type of agencies that you can do business with, how to do business with those agencies, and the different aspects of some of the things that you require to do business with those agencies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so a lot of that is on there, and I'm about to start going even more specific about the different agencies that there are. Like with the state of New York, there's 97 agencies. Now you can't do business with every one of them unless you're selling maybe a door, but if you're a nail salon, you may not be able to do business with that, but you might be able to do business with the military. That's on the Fed level.
Right.
So,
Right.
So we're going to start like breaking it out that way. Like who's best for what agency? You see, that kind of thing, because like I said, unless you're selling doors or something like that, how are you going to do business with every agency?
Yeah. It's kind of leaves a large gap.
Exactly,
You want to be specific.
Exactly. And that's the trick right there. And that's what I try to explain, that you really have to be very specific with the government. You can't say I'm in all of these categories, right? Because they used to allow you to do that, but then they started catching on it. How will you be all of these categories? 15 to 20 categories. And are you a broker? And there's a way they look at brokers. They don't always look at brokers like that's not favorable. So
I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see them thinking that it's not working.
Right. And so it's like,
nigga,
what do you really do? You're 3 to 4. And I try to explain that in the podcast, and some of the future ones. Like, you can't do it all with the government. You gotta really phone in, because there's something else with the way you do business with the government. It's not the same. So with the government, we have what we call a capability statement, and that's for institutional buyers. So institutional buyers are different from a regular buyer. They are buying for the government. They're buying for the government. So they're not looking, they're looking to make sure stuff is, you're responsible, you're reliable, you have the capacity to produce this project or to deliver this project. They don't necessarily, people think that they want the lowest bidder. Yeah, they want you to have a good price, but they don't necessarily want the lowest bidder, because you may not be the most responsive bidder. So that's important. And they like to see what we call a one-pager capability statement that has your codes on there, what you do, your DUNS number, all the things that are really important for a business. And a lot of folks don't understand that that's how they see you when they're looking at your, their desk. Oh, he does da 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 da. There's a way to communicate to these institutional buyers, and that's what I really hope Boom will continue to do, to highlight for people. And then after that, of course, I hope if they need our services, they will definitely give us a call, and we can help them with more technical management and technical assistance.
So in putting together Boom out of the pandemic, you've jumped in it. You seem to like it.
I do.
And it's going to grow.
Thank you, Lord.
Because you're working on new things. But out of that, how do you plan on expanding, or do you even know? Like, is Boom going to be your only, or are you thinking about doing something else along those lines?
Well, right now, I'm just strictly focusing in on getting the word out. We want to do about 150 different segments, all about the government, all about doing business there. And as that word is out there, we just want to, do the SEO, the search engine optimization, so that people understand what's going on with it. I want to get the word out about government and how to do business with the government. And I think with that, my business, All Borough Expediter, sponsors Boom. So that's the connection there.
Okay.
Allborough.expediter.com sponsors the Boom Show. And I think with that, the two of those will intertwine and they will continue to, deliver results for people. And I just hope that people just enjoy it right now. And as it
Mhm.
grows, I think Allborough will grow.
Mm.
So that's really the connection.
So with that, you're looking at what show now? What number is this?
Oh, we're only into like 18 to 20. I just had put together like another three. But over the next, let's say 5 weeks, we probably will produce at least another 50. I had to, get some stuff together, get a team together to help me out because I really want to get the shows out there because you can't
Yeah.
do it all. You just can't do it
Right.
all. It's just a lot. And
Because
so
that
I
was
have
my
some
next
things.
question. Where
Yeah.
where are you finding the time to put all this together? Because it's
Let me tell you. Yeah.
podcasts are cool, but it's not an easy walk.
No, no, no. I'm getting some help for these next 50 shows because I want to get them out there and I want to get them running and I can't. It's like I can't. I don't have the time. But plus, things are opening back up. Post COVID,
Yes.
so things are changing now. Like I have more time with the COVID
Yeah.
because the things were enrolling like they are now again. But I'm going to get some help, and I'm going to get some help to help me with the scripts. And I already have a software engineer, so he does all my editing. And from that point, I think I'll be in good shape. But because I know what I
Mhm.
want the shows to do, I just need somebody to
Right.
write them and type it, and I'll write. It's coming soon, but it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. But you have to stay
It's a lot.
motivated, and you have
Yes.
to try to keep it out there, and you just can't stop. Just because something else is going. I want to keep things going.
How do you stay motivated?
I'm just naturally motivated because I like to create. I'm a creator, so I like to innovate. I like to create. And again, remember, I don't like change. I mean, I don't. I know that I embrace change. So I'm always looking to do something different or to do something better. I try to instill that in my son. Things change, so you have to change. So that
Yeah.
means you always got to be looking and thinking and creating. And that keeps me motivated because I'd like to learn. When I look out the window and I see a leaf, I'm like, oh my God, that excites me. So I'm an optimist. I just like everything excites me. I laugh every day. I stay excited every day. For me to come off of this, it's got to be something really extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be something
Yeah.
really extreme, because I can get excited with anything.
So, if somebody's looking to do what you're doing, what
Mhm.
advice would you have for them?
I would say just do it. Just do it.
Mhm.
I mean, that's what I had to do. You know, um, I had been thinking about it at the podcast, and I was talking myself out of it, and I was like, "How are you going to pick that up?" And da 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 da. And I was like, you know what? Just do it.
Yeah.
And I was, that inner voice will change. If you let that inner voice talk you out of something, you'll never get through it. Then you'll be
Yeah.
angry with yourself or sorry that you didn't do it. And so
Exactly.
I just kept, because for at least over like a year and a half, 2 years, I've been saying I want to do a podcast. I had made some goals with some other friends that I was just talking to, and we was having competitions. Well, when are you going to do yours? And I was like, I'm going to do mine. And then I kept saying, but I don't know anything about all of this stuff, and how am I going to do that? And what will people say? How will I sound? How will I look? And they wanted me to do a video like you're doing. But I was like, I
Uh-huh.
needed to start somewhere. I'm like, I just want to right now. Let me just do my voice right now. Let's just work with the voice
Let
right
me
now.
get used to that portion of it first.
Exactly. And it's been a process like anything else. But
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
very hesitant at first, talking myself out of it.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, I
Because
got something to say, so say it.
yeah, and it's good when you do realize that you have something to say
Mm-hmm.
because then you can set it up so that it's almost in
Right.
sequence.
Right.
You know how to break it down, you know what your message is, you know what you
Yeah.
want to bring to your audience, right?
Yes. 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 Yes.
And
Yeah.
that makes a difference.
That makes a difference,
People
and that's all I want to talk about is how to do business with the government. I'm like not trying to deviate from that at all. So.
Because I think what happens too is that sometimes people get gun shy.
Yeah,
They have all these things to say, and then once that sound goes on, they're like, "Oh my goodness, this
right,
is really my opportunity," and
right,
they're like, "I don't know if I want to put it out there like that."
exactly. Yeah, but I'm excited about keeping it out there because there's a segment of the Boom Show where I give out to my listeners bidding opportunities. So I'm not
Hmm.
just talking about new members. I'm also giving out a bidding opportunity because that helps me to stay Allboro on my Allboro side. That helps Allboro to stay in the loop because there are people out there that want to bid on contracts. So I want to help you bid on a contract by
Mm-hmm.
sharing a contracting opportunity for you. So that's the bidding I think it's called the bid, well, the bid section, right, where I
Yeah. Yeah.
announce the bid opportunity.
It's not a
So that's
request
in
for a
there.
proposal. It's an
Yeah,
actual bid.
yeah, it's an actual bid. I mean, I find an actual bid for you to bid on. Now, it may not be for everybody, but it's for somebody.
Right.
And it's open. And normally before the show, I know that it's like a 2 or 3 week window before the bid is due. So I give them
Mhm.
the information, or they can call the show and they can find out about the bid opportunity. They can call them or they can call us, and they can bid on the opportunity. So I'm trying to get them out there in the habit of it because that's a process too. Where do I look for
Right.
the bid? you
Right.
know where do I look for the bids? And that's real. And a lot of folks that I've worked with to get certified, they still don't know where to go look for the bids, or they're like, oh my
Really?
god, this is overwhelming. And it can be.
Mm. Yeah, I can understand that. I can see that. I can
Hmm.
see how it can be overwhelming, especially if you're really doing all of this for the first time.
Exactly, exactly. But meanwhile, if you're really motivated, you really want to do business with the government, if you really want to do it, you'll do it.
Yeah,
It's
you'll figure it out, right?
like anything else. Yeah, like anything. But if we can help you get along the way, then why not? Why not?
So, if people are interested in your services, how do they reach out to you?
Well, it's Valerie at allboroexpediter.com. And that's
Okay.
ALLBORO Expediter, EXPEDITER.com. Valerie at Allboro Expediter. And of course, if they want to contact the show, that's Boom Now 2021 at Outlook.com.
Now, is there a website?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's a website, allboroexpediter.com.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
And that
definitely.
that can also give information regarding Boom.
Well, Boom doesn't have a website at this particular point. We're just getting that
Okay.
started. We have like 20 shows. So again, in the next 5 weeks, we'll be developing that out as well. So that's
Okay.
Boom is new. Boom's got a boom.
Or is
Boom's got
Boom
a boom.
booming?
Exactly. So yeah, so that's my baby, and like any babies, they gotta grow.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So Valerie, what does everything for you look like in about 5 years? You know, that question they ask when you're sitting before the HR people and they're, two, three folks in a room. Where do you plan to be in 5 years?
Oh my God. I plan to be able to just click away and all my stuff is running for itself. Everything will be set up, operational, and the systems will run like a franchise. I won't have to do anything other than manage everything. And that's exactly where it will be. So that's exciting. And that's the next 60 months for me. Yeah. And that's why I'm working
Okay.
so hard now. So to get everything in place. Yeah. Yeah. To
So
get everything
in
in place.
those next 60 months, things will start to fall into place even more
Oh, before then, but by this in that fifth
in that
year,
time frame.
yeah, all this stuff will be able to just like really click by itself, and I won't have to do anything other than manage it. And that's exactly what that's why I'm working so hard right now because I just want to be at that stage where I could just manage it,
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
having to be, because right now I'm working in my business. Right now I'm doing a lot, But soon I want to be working on the business. So I need to,
Yeah.
just be taking a like the umbrella look and looking like that. So and it takes time, but right now it's my baby. I'm
Yeah.
growing them up. So and it's exciting because the phones are ringing, and we're doing things. We're growing. Like everything is moving. So I'm very happy. I'm very happy.
Pleased with that. Pleased with
Yes,
that.
yes, yes, yes. Yes, and
All
we're
right,
doing our
Valerie
customers right.
Samuels. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said that we're doing our customers right, so with that, you got to be happy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, anytime the phones are ringing, it's a good thing, right?
Yes, it's a good thing.
Good thing.
Yes,
It's a good thing.
yeah, yeah.
Valerie Samuel, thank you so much for coming on and
Thank
being
you.
part of the collective today.
Yes,
Appreciate
thank
your time and your energy. Um, Hopefully we'll have you back to talk a little bit more about government contracts at some point.
Okay, thank you so much, Michelle.
Okay.
Love you. Appreciate
You're
you.
welcome, Valerie.
Okay,
Appreciate you. Thank you so much for being on the collective. And
okay,
don't forget, if you don't get to see this part of it, then you can
okay,
come back Sunday at 6 on
okay,
WSME Enlightenment Radio,
okay.
and
I
they
will.
will run the audio. Okay?
Oh wow. Okay, great. Thank you.
All right.
Good to
So
know.
thank you, Valerie. And
Okay.
this has been the collective on WSME Enlightenment.